Welcome to this introduction to webinars. If you have no idea what a webinar is, have never heard of programs such as Adobe Connect or Blackboard Collaborate, and wouldn't know where to start if you joined a webinar, panic not, you're in the right place. During this course, your tutors will be taking you on a journey of discovery where you will learn just what webinars are, what they can do, their advantages and disadvantages, how they are being increasingly used in the world of work and education, and why they are becoming a key employability skill. This introductory video is in 3 parts and will hopefully get you started on this journey. So, welcome to the wonderful world of webinars.
A good place to start would be a name. What shall we call this new technology? Throughout this course you will hear several terms used, including online conferencing, web conferencing, webinar, webcast, online seminar. Each does have a specific meaning with subtle differences. However, at this early stage we can assume that they all mean the same thing. Some of you may explore the differences in later extension work, but for our purposes they are one and the same. Why do we need webinars? Well, meetings take place all the time, in offices, shops, factories, government departments, and even educational organisations like your own. You are in a meeting right now. You may well be in a classroom, but to all intents and purposes, it is a meeting. People have to travel to attend a meeting. It may be just a short walk within a building, a bus ride between sites, a train journey from city to city, or a flight to another country, perhaps anywhere in the world, and that means time and money. Meeting spaces have to be booked and often paid for, from a small room with a flip chart in the corner to a conference hall seating 1,000 or more delegates with a giant screen at the front and a sophisticated sound system. What happens if you cannot attend? People get ill, or are double booked, or simply do not have the time to travel, which means they might miss important meetings or even classes. Reports, documents and in education learning materials are frequently distributed during a meeting or a class, and someone has to organise and bring all these documents to the meeting. Imagine the situation with a meeting of 500 or more delegates, and you have to take all that material across the country to that meeting to have that material ready for distribution. Quite a problem indeed, and web conferencing is a way of getting around that. So what exactly does web conferencing do? Well, effectively it's a low-cost replacement for video conferencing. 20 years ago, if you'd have wanted to have one of these kind of meetings with your colleagues, say in the United States, you would have had to book some very expensive television studio equipment and an expensive satellite uplink time, charging you probably hundreds of dollars a minute to actually achieve that. Web conferencing allows us to do this much cheaper via the internet. It allows people to meet online without having to leave their home, college or the office. It provides video and sound as well as chat communication, so that allows you to see each other, it allows you to talk to each other, and allows you to send messages to each other. Web conferencing software nearly always features some kind of electronic whiteboard, allowing you to share slides, to share web pages, or to share multimedia content. It has ways of finding out what your audience is thinking, whether it be just feedback or whether it be in answer to questions and quizzes via a variety of ticks and crosses and multiple choice A, B, C, Ds or emoticons, smiley faces, etc. to show what your audience is thinking online. It provides almost instantaneous recordings, instantaneous within a couple of minutes of the meeting ending. People can then access a recording of your meeting, if you want them to, online from anywhere in the world. So what's so good about web conferencing? Well, as we've seen already, it saves time, and in the world of work, time is money. It's also a very efficient way of attending meetings because it reduces both the cost of and the time spent travelling. and that can be a very, very major saving if you're having to travel far distances either within a country or internationally. It's convenient. I am able to attend a meeting sitting at my desk, which means I can break off from my regular work, attend a meeting for an hour and go straight back being productive. I do not need to take up a whole morning or perhaps a whole day or maybe even 2 days to go and attend a meeting. Recordings are available almost instantly, and that's essential for people who have missed the meeting and need to catch up on important information or have missed a class. But also it's very, very useful for those who might need to watch the recording repeatedly, perhaps students with learning difficulties or who have English as a second language. What's the catch? Well, for a start, not all computers or mobile devices will work, and you have no idea what equipment people are using or indeed what their problems are at the other end of the line on the internet. A decent internet connection is required. Not a problem if you're joining the session using your college broadband, but it might be an issue for somebody trying to log in using their home connection. You cannot assume that all or indeed any of your audience will be familiar with the particular system that you are using, and that may lead to disorientation, a word that you'll hear me use several times. Each participant may have a very different experience depending upon the equipment and the speed of the connection that they have. Therefore, you cannot assume that everybody is seeing everything that you show at the same quality at the same time. Accessibility issues need to be taken into account, particularly for those with sight and hearing difficulties. Even if your audience is familiar with your particular web conferencing system, it's still very easy to get lost during a session. Once again, the risk of disorientation is always there. Resources take a long time to prepare. They take a long time to prepare for IT anyway, but when you're dealing with resources designed to be used in an online conferencing session, they take even longer. And finally, many systems are not free, particularly the ones with some really useful features. So we now know what a webinar is and the various names that are used. We've looked at the advantages when using webinars, in particular the savings in time, travel and cost, and we've also discussed the challenges when trying to use this technology. In part 2, we'll be taking a closer look at some web conferencing software programs, and in particular looking at the user interface that you might experience when you log into one of these sessions. I look forward to seeing you in part 2.